Yep, that's me. But how did I get to this point? Well, let's go back to the beginning and talk about it. What's up, everybody? My name is Andrew. This is the very first video on my new YouTube channel, That Challenge Dude. And as you can see, I was player number 644 on Beast Games, and I'm here to give you a complete reaction to everything that happened to me on the show. Let's get to it. So for this video, I'm just going to tell you guys about my experience on the YouTube video that's on his channel where it started with 2,000 people, and I'll make a second video about what happened to me on episode 1 of Beast Games. So let's get right into it. That is such a crazy opening shot.
$5 million in cash and competing for it. Open the gates!
All right, so you guys see us coming through the gates onto the field now, and you have to realize just how crazy it was just to even get to that point. Looks like we were just there and we just walked in. Luckily, I live in Vegas, so I was able to just be dropped off at the holding point at the Rio the morning that the filming was going to start. Some people had already been in Vegas for like 1 or 2 days that had been flown out, and they were just confined to their hotel rooms, so their experience was even harder than mine. But when they finally got us on all the buses and they got all 2,000 people over to Allegiant Stadium, they lined us all up in the concourses, like on the top floor, and they had big drapes everywhere so we couldn't see down to the field or anything. And when we first got there, it was probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were all pretty hungry at this point. We hadn't gotten any food in the staging area, which we had been at since about 10 in the morning, so we went about 5 hours. We had water, but that was about it. And they brought us in and they were like, all right, you're getting a meal. So everybody was super pumped. And then what they brought us was this little tray, which had like a couple of carrot sticks and like 2 celery sticks that were kind of gross and kind of like stale. And then 1 hard-boiled egg and a small little cup of overnight oats. And it was like the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my life. It was like trying to like choke down vomit or something, but that's all we got, and I didn't know when the next meal was going to be, so I just kind of shoveled it down my gullet and plugged my nose so that I couldn't smell it because it was awful. But I knew I had to eat it because I didn't know when the next meal was going to be. So after we ate, we just sat in the concourses for like almost 7 hours while they were getting stuff ready. We just sat there talking with people, laying on the ground. Yeah, it was brutal. And this is when the mind games start. So people are already losing patience and stuff, and we haven't even started the show yet. But, you know, for me as a competitor, I'm like, okay, this is great. People are going to drop out because they can't handle it. And as far as I was concerned, Beast Games had already started at this point. This was already a mental challenge before we even started. So anyways, yeah, 7 hours we sat there. Finally, they lined us up. They take us down towards a field in the tunnels, and then we stood there for probably about another 45 minutes, and then finally we hear Mr. Beast on the microphone say, bring them all out, and that's when we all rushed the field. So by the time we rushed the field here, I mean, we had already been between the holding and before we got to the stadium and then getting to the stadium, it was like 10 hours already that we had been doing this, and we finally got on the field.
You will be eliminated by the end of this video. But for the other half of you moving on to Beast Games, one of you will...
So I tried to look for myself during these opening scenes, but you can't see me at all.
And our first game is Drop the Curtains. Whichever group is the last to lift that 10,000-pound boulder across that finish line is eliminated.
So this was crazy too. Everything on the show, whatever you think the time frame was, it was way longer, believe me. It was complete chaos. Can you imagine 2,000 people just being told, go for teams of 400? It was literally impossible. We were probably separating ourselves into teams for like 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours. I don't know the exact time frame, obviously, because there were no clocks or watches or anything, but yeah, probably 3 to 4 hours to separate. Now for me, I just started walking kind of around and seeing the general like lines that were forming of the 400, and I found one line that I was really confident in to lift these boulders. There were a lot of strong people, there were a lot of vocal people, there were a lot of people like running around talking strategies, and some of the other groups had some of that going on, but not as much as I saw going in this line. So I was like, all right, this is where I need to go. Picking your team right here at the beginning was huge. It was already a big strategy that you had to be thinking of. You couldn't just randomly go somewhere. So I went to that line, and we stood there for a long time waiting for instructions. And then eventually we realized that there were 4 teams that had definitely over 400 people. And then there was one team way down on the end that only had like 200 people in the line. And it became very apparent that all of the people in that line that was small were people that didn't have a strategy, that didn't know what they were doing, that were confused, and that were not taking initiative for themselves and just kind of letting whatever happens instead of advocating and having, strategy for themselves. And so nobody from the other teams wanted to go over there because we knew that's the team that was probably going to lose. So what they ended up doing is they brought out all the jerseys that you guys see here, all the colored jerseys for our team colors. They were little pennies. So I was on the orange team. And I was like, this orange team is sick. We're going to do good. I can feel it. And it was the red team that was the small team that had nobody on it. And so they started handing out the jerseys, but there was no organization to it. And what I quickly realized is I had been standing kind of in the back of the line because it was a little chaotic up front. I quickly realized that as they were handing jerseys out, there were more than 400 people on the line, and they only had 400 jerseys of each color. So I sprinted to the front to make sure that I got an orange jersey, because I was getting an orange jersey no matter what. And all the people that stayed in the back and were just hanging out, again, passive people, not advocating for themselves. Even when the specific game isn't going on, you're still playing. So I ran up there, grabbed my jersey, I'm on orange, awesome. And then all the passive people that didn't do anything ended up not getting the jersey that they wanted, and they had to go down to the red team to get a jersey. And as you guys see in just a second here, it went exactly how we all thought it was going to go. So as you can see here, the orange team strategy was just to run backwards, and then the people from the back would come to the front as we continually just walked backwards. Some of the other teams, you can see the red team, they were just going like this, trying to go like hand over hand, but we just ran. And as you can see, I picked right. Orange team got first place. We crushed it.
Go backwards! We have to go backwards! That's yellow! Oh no! Red just lost out on this chance to win $5 million.
Oh man, that was like one thing I told myself. I'm not letting them in the first round.
Red team.
Yeah, the red team was horrible. You can see no strategy. All the other teams were done, and they weren't even barely halfway up. That's so brutal. I would have literally just been so devastated if I went out on the very first challenge. So at this point, I was feeling pretty good, right? I was like, all right, I've made it through the first challenge. A little the nerves go away. And it's more like, okay, yeah, I can get through this. I can do this. Obviously, we didn't know what the next challenge was going to be, but I was feeling pretty good at this point.
Congratulations on passing the first challenge. Don't you just love your teams? Yellow team, don't you love each other? Green, orange, pink. Unfortunately for challenge 2, your teammates will be your opponents.
So we got into the stadium at about probably 10 o'clock at night, like I said, and we didn't start filming for probably about another 2 hours. So probably about midnight is when we started filming the challenge, which, as you can see, didn't last long at all. It was probably like 30 seconds for the whole challenge. And then after all the teardown and everything that needed to happen after that, we did not go to bed until probably, I think it was about 5 a.m. when I finally laid down and went to bed. The way he's editing this, it makes it look like we went right into the second challenge, but that was literally a full 24 hours later. All we did the first night was film the boulder challenge, and then, like I said, probably till about 3 o'clock in the morning is when we finished filming. It was about another 2 hours before I went to bed. Now, they did hand us all sleeping bags, as you guys can see. Here's my sleeping bag from the show. This is what I slept in a couple of nights we were there. So they handed out all that, which obviously also took forever. But I decided that I was going to sleep right next to the stage on the opposite side, the exit wall, where you could self-eliminate if you just didn't want to be there anymore. Because I thought maybe I'd hear production talking about, you know, something that I could overhear. I never really heard anything, but, you know, again, part of my strategy. But, yeah, so went to bed about 5 a.m. and woke up at about, we woke up at probably about 9. So I got about 4 hours of sleep. We just slept straight on the ground, no pillows, nothing. Just flat on the ground in the sleeping bag. They gave us a little eye mask that helped because the lights were on 24/7 inside of the stadium. But yeah, it was wild because, you know, you still have adrenaline and stuff. So it was, even though you're exhausted, I still only got 4 hours of sleep. And when we woke up, everybody was like, we're starving, we haven't eaten, because we didn't get a meal all night. So all we had eaten up to this point was at like 3 o'clock the previous day, 3 p.m., was that like awful food that we got that was almost nothing. And the producers literally came out on the microphone and were like, hey, we didn't expect you guys to be awake this early, because when I got up at 9, like 90% of people were already awake for the day because no one could sleep. And they were like, we didn't expect you to get up this early, so the food's not going to be here until like 1 o'clock. So from 9 to 1, we all sat around absolutely starving. And then we did get the meal at about 1 o'clock. So you have to think, in between meals, it was about 22 hours where we got no food. They were handing out some Feastable chocolate bars, but, you know, I don't eat chocolate, so some people were. But still, even if you do eat chocolate, it's not going to do much for you. So 22 hours later, we got our second meal. And believe it or not, it was the exact same thing we got for the first meal. And after we got the second meal, several people, they don't show it in the show, but several people, maybe a dozen people, self-eliminated because they physically couldn't take not eating, which I get. But I was like, I'm staying here no matter what. I don't know if I've ever been that hungry in my life when I ate my second meal, but nothing was going to stop me from going through.
Bring out the briefcases.
All right, so now the briefcase
Only
challenge
pink
comes up.
team, stand around.
They had us separated into pens according to our colors, and this took, you know, basically all day to set up as well. And we started filming again right around 10 o'clock or so for the first challenge here. And the first team to go here obviously was pink, but I'm gonna skip ahead and go to the orange team, obviously my team, which was second. So let's watch that.
Eliminated from the pink team. We reshuffled the briefcases in a new order and sent orange team to the same fate. All right, orange team, I hope you're all ready for this. Throw up the map.
All right, so my strategy going into this one, because I was lucky, I got to go second, so I didn't have to wait forever to go, because it was probably like 2 hours in between each team going. So I watched the pink team go, and then it was probably like 2 hours before my team went. So they called orange out, and my strategy was to go to the very back corner of the whole grid, because a lot of people I saw from pink, when they went, they just went like straight up to the line that was closest to them, which obviously is going to be more people around and more competition. So I purposely went all the way around to the very back corner, and sure enough, there was a lot less people there. So I had way higher odds of getting the briefcase that I wanted. So when it flashed on the screen which briefcases were safe and which ones weren't, my entire row that I was standing in front of, which was like 15 briefcases or something, the entire row was green. So like I could grab any briefcase in my row and I was going to be safe. But you still don't know who's going to go for what. So what I ended up doing is me and probably the 10, 12 people that were on either side of me, we all started collaborating together and yelling out, hey, well, I went first because I'm jumping the gun here. I was like, I'm grabbing the very first briefcase. And I claimed it right away. So I had to take like 2 steps when he blew the horn to get my suitcase. He literally blew it. I went boop, boop, touched it. Like that was it. And so people started around me, you know, freaking out. They want to call their number. So this guy's like, I got the second one. I got the third one. I got the fourth one. I got the fifth one, you know, all the way down the line. I went straight to mine and everybody around me went straight to theirs. Like we totally trusted each other and it worked out perfectly. All right, and here's my first sighting in the episode. You can see me, see this guy that's saying yes right here. I'm going to put a circle around myself so you guys can tell. But that is me right in the background there. You can see, like I said, I got the very first briefcase in the row. And I'm jumping down. I was so pumped at this point because, you know, every time you make it through, you get a little bit more confident, a little bit more confident, a little bit more confident. So I was thrilled at this moment. I've now made it through 2 challenges. All right, so by the time the yellow team went, they had been waiting to go for like 7 or 8 hours at this point because, like I said, it was about 2 hours in between each one. So I was so glad that I wasn't on the yellow team because I was already done at this point. I had already moved on. We were just chilling in our pen. I was literally on the ground sleeping when the yellow team started, and then I woke up to watch because at this point it was about 5, 6 in the morning again, and these people had been up all night waiting to go, and I was just chilling because I had already moved on. Now, something else I'm surprised that they didn't show here is that in all of the rounds, there were varying degrees, but in every single round they had disputes. They had people that ran to briefcases and touched them at almost the exact same time, and those people did not want to go get another one because by the time they both got there, all of the green safe ones had pretty much been taken. So if you take your hand off and go get another one, you're getting eliminated. So there were anywhere between like 5 to 10 disputes every single round, and they had to go back and they had to watch video footage of every single touch, frame by frame, to see who actually got there first. And that's part of the reason that it took so long, these like 2 hours in between each round, is because they had to check on all of these disputes. And then they could move on and reshuffle the cases and everything. But they had to actually spend all that time first before we could even move on. And that was crazy to see, all the people that got disputes. I mean, I don't even know how I would have reacted if I had somebody else on my stand. So that's why I just went to the first one. Just boom, get it done.
For the next challenge.
Man, a long day. I didn't get to sleep.
All right, so you saw him say, let's get some rest before the next challenge. So you guys do get a very slight look into what our sleeping arrangement looked like. However, it's just so brief. It's crazy to see how they edit this because like 99% of the time that we were there was just milling around on the field, just talking with people and strategizing and forming alliances and all that kind of stuff. My strategy as far as that goes is I didn't have like a super tight group of people that I was with. I just talked to as many people as I could and just became like a familiar face that people would recognize. Because there were so many people here, I didn't see a point in making like a super tight alliance at this point because so many people were going to get eliminated. Like I didn't think it was worth it. And if I just talk to tons of people and make myself a friendly face, you know, I can make alliances kind of as we go, depending on who's left or who I think might be good. It allowed me to like watch, you know, and see the people that I wanted to be with instead of immediately jumping in. So at this point, after that second meal that we had gotten at 1 p.m., the meals became a lot more consistent. At this point, it became every like 5 to 6 hours the rest of the time they were there. So that got way better. And we did get the nasty oatmeal meal a couple more times, but interspersed with that, we actually got something much more substantial. It still wasn't much, so it was still like very low amount of calories, but we got like a warm chicken breast with some warm cut up veggies and some couscous in like a little kind of like plastic tray. And that was like heaven on earth compared to the oatmeal that we had. It still wasn't very good, but yes, after that second meal, the food situation in terms of like the consistently got a lot better. But yeah, the second night was definitely better sleeping wise as you're getting a little bit more comfortable. Went to bed probably about 6 a.m. the second night. And I probably didn't wake up until about noon to 1 o'clock the second day here. So first night I got 4 hours of sleep. Second night I got about 6 hours, which is not bad considering. We're coming up on the third challenge now, which is the flag challenge. And this started filming a little bit earlier because this was the third night that we were there, and they wanted to film the last two challenges both on this night. So I believe the flag challenge started around like 8 p.m. or so about 2 hours earlier than the other two nights.
To capture a flag in order to move on.
There's 1,400 of you and 1,100 flags.
This means 300 of you will be eliminated.
All right, so I'll circle where I was standing right here on the screen for you guys. My strategy was to go way down to the far end of the line that they had for us. As you can see, there were tons of people bunched up in the middle here. And then the further out you went, the less people there were, which is exactly why I want to be down there. And it goes for the flag, or it goes for the briefcase challenge, same thing. Less people equals less competition for those flags. I don't know why so many people were standing in the middle, but I went way down to the end, and my strategy was to not go for a long time. I was like, I'm not even going to think about it until I get to like 700, 800, because so many people are going to run out thinking that they can get a flag when there's not enough, and they're going to get eliminated. By the time it gets to like the last 200 flags, there's going to be barely, there's going to be barely more people than there are flags, and I'll be easily able to get one. So that was my strategy when the competition started. And so I was just chilling. I was like, I'm going to be here for a long time. All right. Look, who's that handsome guy on the screen right there? Who is that guy? This is probably there's another shot of me coming up here in a minute. But this is probably the best shot you'll get of me during this entire episode. So you can see me standing down on the way down on the end. These are the people I was standing around. The funny thing is that they're acting like this is just going to be starting, but I was standing pretty far back in this line when they actually started the competition. So the way they edit it, I mean, this is like probably, I don't even know. This is probably in the like 500 to 600 flag range when this shot is taken, where you can see me standing right here. So it's just funny. The continuity is crazy. Obviously you guys don't know, but as I'm watching this, like some of the shots they're using are from completely different parts of the competition than what they're portraying.
Oh, we got a collision.
Yeah, so as the competition was going on and there were more and more and more rounds, I thought tons of people were going to get eliminated, but there were literally like 5 people in one round, 6 people in another round, 10 people in a round, 8 people in a round. Like, it was very strange. Like, everybody seemed to kind of have the same strategy that I had, so I had to rethink. And so what I ended up doing is I tried to start working my way kind of towards the middle of the group of the people that I was in, because I was like, I can't wait as long as I wanted to wait. Like, I need to go get a flag pretty soon here. So what ended up happening is, and I'm saying it's so important to collaborate with the people that were around you. That's 99% of the reason that I made it through these competitions. Yeah, so you can see, so my group of people started forming like rows of people, like, a row of 10 people, a row behind them, a row behind them. And we were basically just like moving up row by row by row. And each row, when they got to the front, would call out which flag they were going to get. And then we all agreed that we would only go for the flag that we called out. And our row consistently, row after row, everybody was getting flags because we were all working together to make sure that we had one. And because there were less people, we only had the same amount of people as flags were going out. So we were all going to get one. You can see here in this clip, we agreed to let this lady go out and get her flag right next to the thing. We were all like, yeah, go for it. And you can see me, I'll circle myself right there, pointing to the flag as Jimmy came over to put it down. So at this point, I had made my way up to the front row. So you can see how we're all kind of lined up there. And that was my group that was going to go out for flags. This was maybe like 1 or 2 rounds before I ended up actually going, because it was a very small round after this. So I was on the front of the line for probably 3 or 4 rounds before my group all decided to go. But I'll tell you, I got up to the front of my line. I saw 644. I immediately called it out. Everybody else started calling out theirs. And I ran out, grabbed 644, no problem. Everybody around me all got their flags. It was epic. So at this point, I was feeling amazing. I was like, all right, we got one challenge left. There's 1,100 people. I only got to get past 100 people now to make it onto Amazon, to make it onto Beast Games. So I was like out of my mind happy right now. Yeah, that was legit insane. I'm so glad I went early when I did, because him calling yo literally got so many people out. But at the same time, Mr. Beast was very clear that the only time you could run is when that horn was blown. So I don't think I would have jumped, but I'm glad I didn't even have to worry about it, because that was a brutal way to go out.
Blowing the horn starts each round. Obviously, not Carl yelling yo. Wow.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I wasn't the one with the microphone. Holy crap. Wow.
So after the third challenge, we got another meal. By the time we finished that challenge, it was probably like 2 in the morning. And then it took another 2 hours roughly of just sitting in the bleachers. I had to just sit in the bleachers while they were setting up for the very last competition. And it was like, I was dying. I was so sleep deprived at this point. I was barely like staying awake. I was laying on the ground under the seats. But I was also really excited. And then what we did as we went onto the field to get ready for the last challenge, we had been holding on to our flags, and we gave them to people who took down our name and the number flag that we got. We didn't realize that. I mean, we were speculating, but that flag that you grabbed ended up being your number for Beast Games if you actually got on Beast Games. And if you had a number above 1,000, then they just assigned you a number that was below from somebody who had been eliminated. So, just like we did at the beginning, yeah, it was a lot less people at this point, but when he said split up into groups of 100, you can't super tell from here, but it was like one of the most chaotic things I have ever been a part of. We literally took like 2 hours to just separate ourselves into groups of 100 because they kept having to count like 50 times if every group had 100, and there were people running from one group to another, to another, to another, and then these people left, and these people came, and then these people were yelling at each other, and then these people split off to form their own group, and it was just insane. Eventually, obviously, we did get sorted, but it took so long. At this point, my strategy was just to kind of find some people that I knew were gamers that were never ever going to step off of these platforms for anything. Now, with 100 people, obviously I don't know all those people. I didn't talk to everybody. That's impossible. So honestly, there wasn't a ton of strategy. I tried, like I said, to find some legit people, but you're going to have some random people in every single group that nobody really had talked to. And so honestly, this last challenge was basically 100% pure luck. So the other 3 times, I felt really confident because I had a strategy and it worked perfectly all 3 times. But there wasn't really any strategy for this one. I wasn't stepping off, but I had no idea if anybody else would. So for the first time, I felt super vulnerable in this challenge because it was completely not up to me. All right, so this is a pretty good overview shot here of all of the platforms. Obviously, there were 11. I'm going to circle myself again. This is the platform that I was standing on. Well, I stood on it for a while, but in the clip here, you can see that I'm sitting down. I sat down right in the corner there. Right in the front, because I wanted to see everything that was going on. There were people standing in other spots, but I wanted to be right up in the front to see everything. So this is them just walking around interviewing stuff before we started. But yeah, at this point, I was freaking out. I was freaking out. So at this point, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So we knew this challenge couldn't last a very long time at this point. So we knew there was going to be bribes or something coming out because no one was going to step off otherwise. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we knew something was coming because we were only on the platforms for probably like 20, 30 minutes before he did make the announcement that he was going to bring something out. So he brings all 3 out. He reveals the 5,000, which you can see here. And everyone's like, all right, no one's going to take $5,000 at this point. That's dumb. All right, then he reveals the 50,000 here. And at this point, I was still thinking, you know, maybe someone will go for the $50,000. But considering at this point all that everybody here had been through, I was like, I doubt someone's going to jump off for 50. Yeah, so everybody was like, oh, 550, you know. But as soon as he brought that million, the whole vibe changed. Everybody started freaking out because, you know, nobody thought we'd go for the 5. No, some people maybe will go for 50, but still, like, you know, I think most people were thinking this is probably not going to happen. But as soon as that million came out, I mean, I'm thinking, all right, if we get to the million, which I think we're going to, there's going to be like 600-700 people that jump off of their platforms. How are they possibly going to tell who jumped off first, right? And I was like, that at this point, it's just total luck. Complete luck on whether I'm going to move on or not. So my heart was just like going insane. Yeah, so obviously we all knew no one was going to take the $5,000. So he didn't even run the full timer. It got down to like 3 minutes and he just canceled the timer because he was like, yeah, nobody's taking this.
$5,000. Seems like no one has any interest. You can go ahead and reset the timer. Put it back to 10 minutes. They don't want it.
All right, so at this point, we're getting to the 50. And me and most people were assuming if there's $1 million on the line, then no one's taking $50,000, right? So we're like, all right, we're going to be sitting here for about another 10 minutes. And then the craziest thing possible happens. We're all just staring in complete disbelief. Everybody on my platform, obviously we just kind of looked around for like 10 seconds. We're like, did that actually just happen? And then after like the 20, 30 seconds of disbelief, of course, then we just went insane cheering because we knew we were on the show. We were on the official Beast Games that was going to be on Amazon. I mean, it was pure elation. I cannot tell you how energizing that moment was with all the people on my platform just absolutely freaking out. Yeah, so I didn't even actually know until I watched it the other day that she didn't actually get the money because she jumped off before the timer went. Now, we were all speculating on our platform. We're like, the timer hadn't started. He hadn't officially started the challenge yet. So did she get the money? Some people were saying, oh, yeah, they said they'd give her the money. And other people were like, no, she didn't get it. And now I assumed that she didn't get the money, which is obviously what happened. But I didn't know for sure until I actually saw this come out because he wasn't on the microphone. So we couldn't hear him talking to her. But can you imagine jumping off of a platform, making 99 other people lose, and then you didn't even get the money? Bro, I honestly feel so bad for that girl. She's probably getting trashed online. I've seen some stuff about it, but that is just, I couldn't believe it. But, didn't happen to me, so whatever. I'm moving on. That's all I knew at this point. So I got a couple of good shots in here, I would say. So at this point, when we were getting off our platforms, I was just delirious, completely sleep deprived, barely had any food. I was starving. I had no concept of time whatsoever. By the time we got off our platforms, went through the out processing, got on the buses to go back to the Rio to get all of our belongings, and my Uber picked me up and brought me home. I did not get to my house. I only live probably like a 15-minute drive away from Allegiant Stadium. I didn't get to my house until about 10. I ate some food because I was starving. So I went to bed at about 11 a.m. and I had woken up the other day, like I said, probably around 1 p.m. So I had been up for about 22 straight hours at this point, and I just crashed. And I slept until probably like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, woke up, ate some dinner, and then went back to bed and slept all night again. It was insane. But yeah, I was freaking out. I told my wife everything. We talked for like a couple hours about my entire experience. And I have to tell you guys, this is like the most wild thing I've ever been a part of. But I also knew that I had a second part coming up, and it was so amazing. We didn't know exactly when it was going to be. We knew it was going to be sometime soon, so it was kind of weird to have this like break period of time in between the competitions without knowing exactly when I was even going to go to the second part. But one thing I did want to talk a little bit about before I end this video is there's a lot of rumors and allegations of stuff that were going on the set of this show here in Vegas. And I have to tell you that a lot of those were really exaggerated. Things were not handled great, especially the first night, I'll tell you for sure. I don't think they were fully prepared for what the needs of 2,000 people were going to be. But the longer we were there, it got better and better and better. And I think a lot of it is just people trying to get clout, a lot of people trying to tear a famous person down. You always see that happen, and just get their 5 seconds of complaining on the internet and maybe getting a lot of engagement and clicks for it. But honestly, it was really tough. I'm not gonna lie. It was extremely difficult physically and mentally to be there. But it was a competition. Like, we signed waivers. That's exactly what we signed up for. So I don't know what all these people are like super complaining about. The challenges were extremely fair. Nothing was rigged at all. All you did was, all you needed to do was have a little bit of strategy and luck, sure, but nothing was rigged. It was completely fair. I can guarantee you that, 100% fair. So, yeah, all these allegations stuff really blown out of proportions, but I had a great time. It was one of the best things I've ever done. And, of course, as I said, I still had more to go. So that's all for my reaction on this video. I hope I gave you guys some cool insight into how it was filmed and what my experience was like. But make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. This is my new channel. I plan on growing it to be something crazy and big. I have lots of plans. This channel will be mostly focused on challenges and competitions because I'm telling you, after I did this, I was like, man, I got to do more fun and crazy stuff. So I made this channel to document it all with you guys. So please, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn notifications on for that challenge, dude. Follow me on my other socials like X, TikTok, Instagram. I'm going to be posting a crazy amount of awesome content. And most importantly, right now, my second video that I'll be posting within the next few days will be my reaction to episode 1 of Beast Games and how my experience was on that show. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.